PicoBoot for the GameCube. I have the Raspberry Pi Pico. This is my GameCube. It's pretty decked out. The only mod we're going to have to do later is the fan upgrade. So I haven't done that yet. But I'm not too annoyed with how loud the fan is on the stock GameCube. I got some yellowing on this port that we could probably try to fix at some point in the future. And I do want to do that new mod, the Laser Bear. Oh shoot, I forgot the other guy. Anyway, there's a controller board replacement mod. It's just a drop-in, and you can hook up Bluetooth controllers to it and wired controllers. You just swap the board out, which I'd be interested in doing. So, yeah, I've got the Game Boy player. This is my EverDrive. So let's take the Game Boy player out and start getting this set up for modding. This mod shouldn't be too bad. It shouldn't take too long. I say that now. Pops out. This is actually a full-on Game Boy Advance in here. It's crazy. There's gonna be a ton of screws today. Nintendo consoles are like notorious for having ridiculous amount of screws. So GameCube is cool. Yeah. I have some stories I could tell about the GameCube and the whole thing. My history with the GameCube. I've owned multiple GameCubes. When I was younger, my girlfriend at the time, she didn't have a game. It wasn't GameCube. I had a GameCube, and I think I had a Wii at the time. And there was a game, Hellgate London. Does anybody remember that game? So the nice thing about this mod that I'm doing is that it will run games from a micro SD card, which I'm going to show you. I have to pull that out anyway. So this right here is a SD to SP2. So this is serial port 2 on the GameCube. And it lets you put an SD card, micro SD card, into this port, which can be read from a program called Swiss. So you just have to boot into Swiss. Now, in order to boot into Swiss, I use an Action Replay and a memory card to SD adapter, and then you can load the Swiss file off the SD card adapter. But with this mod we're going to be doing today, I won't need this disk, and I won't need the micro SD memory card adapter. I will only need this, the SD to SP2, which is great. I won't have to have a memory card with an SD card sticking out of the front of my console anymore. I can still use it. You can actually use it with this mod, but this is kind of valuable, so I'd rather not leave it in here, and I don't want to wear the laser down just booting the console over and over again to get into the SD card. So the mod we're going to do will let me play original games when I want to on the optical disc and load them from the SD card as well. So it's a pretty cool mod. Screws out. We can lift that off. Yeah, this is a cool mod. The Raspberry Pi Pico is super inexpensive. So as a mod chip goes, this is a pretty good one for a price. No, it's not too dirty. Some dust around the fan. We'll get that cleaned up. So I've never taken this apart before, so I'm a little surprised at how clean it is inside, to be honest. I expected it to be a lot dirtier than this. So we're going to unplug this power board. This is the fan first. As well. Let's put all these game bit screws together. There's so many screws in this thing, it's absurd. But yeah, so back to my story. Hellgate London came out, and my friends and I all wanted to play Hellgate London together, and I only had enough money for one copy for me. We were all very excited because, you know, Diablo. And I wanted to get a copy so that my girlfriend at the time, or was she my fiance at the time? I can't remember. Anyway, my ex-wife, who I was dating at the time, we needed to get her a copy of the game, and I had a Wii, but I didn't have a GameCube. I had a Wii and I had a GameCube, and I felt like it was a little redundant to have a GameCube and a Wii. Of course, I was dumb at the time. I had still been in the mindset of trade-ins, so we went to GameStop and I traded in my GameCube for a copy of Hellgate London. So stupid. I ended up buying this GameCube later to replace the one I traded in because I regretted it, obviously. And we probably played Hellgate London for like 2 months or something. So it was a little bit of a waste. Yeah, I lost a lot of consoles, and mostly consoles. I didn't like trading in games. So I kept all my games. But I didn't like trading. I would trade in consoles over the years, especially when I was younger. I lost a lot of the games. My parents would do this thing where they would suddenly decide to have a garage sale and get rid of my stuff. Well, most of the disassembly is done anyway. We just got to get these 3 screws out. So I would come home from school and they would have had a garage sale, and they would sell all my stuff and keep the money. They would just decide that I don't need it anymore because I'm too old or something. Or they would force me to give it away to like a cousin or something. When I wanted a Super Nintendo, I needed to give my there's a couple more screws actually. I missed one here. I needed to give my Atari 2600 to my cousin. So with the screws out, I can just kind of pull up and get the optical off. And now we're down to the GameCube mainboard. This is where we might run into our first potential snag. I got to get this heatsink off, and that is a somewhat dangerous endeavor. So pulling this off is a little bit dangerous because there's thermal pads underneath. I don't know if I have good replacement thermal pads if they break. So we really want them to not break. That would be ideal. Now, one method after you get the screws out is to kind of wiggle it back and forth until it comes off. But I've seen that still end up ripping the pads, which we don't want. So I'm going to try a method where I kind of lift the wider side here. I'm going to do both. I'm going to wiggle it a little bit. So let's get these screws out. Yeah, so I would end up coming home and all my stuff would be gone. The most heartbreaking one was my Ninja Turtles action figure and G.I. Joe action figure collection. I came home one day and everything was gone, and I had like all the Ninja Turtle figures, the soft head ones. They're worth so much money now, it's insane. So, that's fun. I still have my comics. Thankfully, they didn't ever get rid of my comics. So I have my whole comic collection, my Marvel Masterpieces cards, a lot of that stuff. I have all of that. which is nice. Spider-Man cards. But yeah, I would come home and my stuff would be gone. So I count that as theft. I was robbed. So I still consider that I own those games. Okay, let's try. I think I can pull this out now. Does this come out? Alright, I'm going to just try getting the heatsink off first. Let's wiggle a little bit. Try and loosen those pads. And then see if I can get them off in one piece. I did! This one's still on there, but that's fine. These are all... Oh, I don't have to replace them. Woo! Awesome. Awesome. Alright, did I miss a screw? Why is this having trouble coming out? The power supply underneath. That's why. I gotta pull it from that side first. There's a connector for the power supply underneath. That's what happened. Alright. We have a disassembled GameCube, and I didn't tear. I mean, there's a little bit of damage on the corner of this one. But that's nothing to worry about at all. Oh boy. Now we get to set up for soldering. Really, the hard part is over. Alright, we'll start on the... Let's see if we got the same color wires that they suggest. Let me add this here so you guys can see it. So that's the soldering we need to do to the board. How long do these cords need to be? So I believe we're going to be soldering kind of like this chip and these right here. And then the cords need to just kind of go... Oh! I know what I forgot. I have a 3D print I need to do. That'll only take a minute. Hold on. There's a remix stand? Maybe I should print both of them. I don't know what the difference is. Let's print both of them. It did. Alright, let me go start this print. Printer was misbehaving. I had to restart it twice. Otherwise I would have been back like instantly. Okay. Let's get you guys a good view of what's going on. Alright, so the first thing I'm gonna do is maybe clean up the board a little bit. Prep it for a little bit of solder. I'm just going to use this cheap solder paste flux. Not paste, but what is it? Paste flux. Oh, it is paste flux. So we're looking at this point. These 2 points, I need to bridge them. So I guess I could do that with the ground wire itself. And the ground wire is our black wire. So I have the black wire. Let's strip it. Here it is stripped. I'm going to dip it in the flux paste. And I'm going to take some flux paste and just kind of prep the area a little bit. Make sure our soldering iron is clean. Heat it up a little bit and then try to add a little bit of solder. So that bridged those. We need more solder for the wire. That looks good. And then we're going to put our first wire here. It seems a little high up. There we go, that's better. And I might have overshot, yeah, I overshot the wire a little bit. It's touching that other pin. There we go. How's that look? Let's clean that up. It still looks like it might be touching, huh? Let me get frayed out. So solder's not behaving, so we need more flux. Alright, is that still bridged? It looks a little too close to this other pin for my liking. You know what? I'm going to shorten this wire. I think it's just too long. So let's add some more solder. No, we just need to bridge these two. Get the wire on there. Easier said than done, huh? Wow, it keeps wanting to go to that other pin. Okay, that doesn't look terrible. That looks even better. Let's clean it up. It's so tiny. It's absurd. That'll work. Nothing's bridged except for the two pins that we want to be bridged. Okay, so let's strip purple wire. Try not to strip off too much this time. Dip it in the flux paste. We're going to tin it. Get some solder. Wire is tinned. Okay, so the next one is the purple one. So that's this guy right here. So we need to solder the wire there. And this wire is still, even though I made it shorter, it's still too long. These things need to be tiny. So we need to tin this guy here. Maybe? Okay, well, it's got fresh solder on it. That's what matters. Let's try this without tweezers first. Oh, not bad. Not bad. Beautiful. Okay. Next one is going to be this red one, which is 2 pins up. So that's that guy. So while we've got some flux, let's just tin it. And this is going to be the red wire. So we will strip. Try to get just enough on the tip there so that it will not bridge anything. Let's tin it, not over the board. It still seems that's going to be too long now because I kind of, when I was tinning it, burnt back the casing. Let's cut it down. Real tiny like. I thought this was going to be the easy part. Okay. Oh, this board wants to move like all over the place. I feel like we need a little bit more solder. That seems pretty good. Almost burnt my finger. Okay. Now we need to tin the legs of this chip. So we're going to add some flux paste to this side of the chip and the third leg on this side. Just get a bunch on there. I really should switch to a smaller tip. Do you think that connection is going to hold? It feels pretty good. Okay, we'll try that. And then our last wire is this blue wire. See how much, every time I try to solder it, it like peels the plastic back. Okay, let's inspect. Okay. I don't think that one's bridging. Let's go from a different angle here. Yeah, it looks okay. Okay, I think we did it. You know, a lot of these videos, people doing this stuff, they make it look so easy. But it is tiny. It's so tiny. Like, so tiny. And our 3D print is done. Perfect. So let's reassemble the console. Let's figure out which one of these we're going to use. Let's do the heat shrink. We'll do this one first. I guess I should grab a lighter. We'll make it fast. That's good enough. Alright, let's get the heatsink back on. Start reassembling. This way. Let's press that into the power supply. Okay. Let's kind of put them in diagonal from each other and then we'll tighten them all down when they're... Oh, you're clean! Don't worry, I couldn't smell you. Okay. I don't know how clean you actually are, because I know people who get in the shower and they don't actually use soap. And a lot of people use really stupid bad soap. So... clean is a relative term, depending on who you talk to. Had roommates.
Well, I was in there for 45 minutes.
45 minutes in water. I mean, water is a solvent, but
XD.
It's not that good. I don't think anybody's technically clean unless they use Dr. Bronner's. Sorry. There's probably some other soaps, but I just can't stand the smell of most soap.
LOL.
Only Dr. Bronner's peppermint or unscented. The baby unscented. Then I'll call you clean. Alright, let's get these all the way in.
I can't use anything with scent.
Exactly. The peppermint I can do. Beautiful. We are assembled. We are soldered. We've slack. How does this thing go back together? With the top cover, this thing is going to kind of pinch the cables. So what we have to do is bend this out like this. Then we can take some tweezers and try to kind of like... I'll do it up here because bend it back down. And then we're going to fish these cables through there. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we can start putting the screws back in. Okay. Is this gonna work when I put it back together? I guess there's always a risk. So if I were to use one of these mounts, it would go here. I guess I could still kind of technically use it. And the Pico would sit in there. It's just not going to be secure. The trick to installing screws, I'm going to say this a lot if you watch my streams, but the trick to installing screws is to reverse them first. Go in the opposite direction until they kind of fall into place. You'll feel it click. Or sometimes you can hear it. And then that lets you know that you're in the thread. And then you can start putting it in. Sometimes, like this one, it's really hard to tell. I might have done that one badly, but sometimes the things are misaligned a little bit. It can be hard to tell. But for anything that's going into plastic, I'll turn it backwards first. There, you hear that? I'll do it again. Right there. Clicked. So that means I'm in the thread. One screw at a time. Is this gonna work? The last two things we have to do is solder to the Pico. So the blue cable is our GP4. So we're just gonna tin the wire. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually kind of stick it in and wrap it around like that. So the cable's kind of wrapped around the hole, and there's like a solder point, half a via, I don't know what to call it, right there. Like that. So this is GP5, it's the hole right underneath. And then we'll just solder it in. And we'll trim off that excess. So we skip one and then we go down two more, and we actually need to connect it between these two. So strip the cable so it's a little bit longer. Give it a quick twist. Tin it up. I could just solder it across. There we go, I got it. Oh, grab it. Grab it. Twist it up. Yes, that's what I wanted. So I got it going through this hole, coming back into this hole, and then kind of twisted back up and around here so we can solder right there. Whew. Easy, right? Okay. Oh, shoot. Did I do the wrong two? Of course I did. Of course I did. I needed to go down one. Okay. Well, then we solder wick it out. It was practice. That's all. Just wick this off. It's just practice. That's all. We were half right. Alright, let's just cut this so we can pull that out and start over. Sad. Can't believe I did that. Of course I did. Where's the trimmers? It happens. Happens to everybody. We skip one, and then we go in. I think this side could use a lot more solder. Okay, so this is the ground cable. 1, 2, 3. That should be our ground. It says ground. Oh, look, they're labeled on the back side. Oh, that would have made things so much easier. Okay, well, now I won't make the mistake next time. I've never used a Pico before. It's nice that they're labeled. They're not labeled on the front side, so I was looking at the front because that's what the picture is on the board here. Okay, one more cable. The red one. 3V3. 3 volt. See if we can tack it down. Oh, I can just get it on there. Beautiful. Soldering is done. Now we have to prep the SD card. Now when you put the top on, you need to leave the lid open so you don't break the button for the lid ejector. There's a lid sensor, and if you put it on with the lid closed, it could actually damage the sensor. So there we go. Now we can reassemble the bottom. There's an M.2 board coming, which is crazy. Imagine an M.2. For now, the SP2.
You're getting so close.
I know. It's together. And there's no power. Savage. Did I break my GameCube, guys? Now we get to troubleshoot. This is almost why you don't put it all back together before you test, huh? Well, let's take it back apart. Oh, duh. I never plugged the fan and this board back in. So of course it's not turning on. I'm like, did I break my GameCube? No. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling when you mod a console and you go to plug it in and it doesn't work. It scared me. It did scare me. It scared me. Okay. We should be good. Yes! Okay, we're halfway there. It does work, except the controller port's not lighting up, and the LED on it is not lighting up. So maybe the cable's a little bit loose. Janky little ribbon cable. It does turn on, and it booted right in, so the mod's working, and the console does work. It is not broken. Yeah, it's not in all the way. Easy fix. So the mod's working. I've never taken a GameCube apart before, so with consoles that I've taken apart a bunch of times, you know, it's a much more kind of comfortable experience. So I'm obviously gonna make more mistakes since this is my first time inside here. Okay. Let's try Windmaker. Oh, I should put it on 40p. I can force it. Yes. There we go. Do we have sound? There we go. It works. It's the wrong aspect ratio, but it works. It works. Okay. Well, it works. It wasn't without its trials, but we got through it. Some good stuff here.